Yo guys, welcome back. I have a quick test and review here of my most recent setup changes to my 118th Redcat Ascent. So in this video, I am running an OGRC 66 turn 180 motor. And I'm not positive what the stock motor is, but it's definitely lower than 66 turn because this did slow it down, right? So my top speed on this is slower than it was with the stock motor. I am also running this on 3S. If you see my previous video where I tested 3S versus 2S, I really like this thing on 3S, so my idea was to go with a higher turn motor so I can slow down the low speed and still retain some good wheel speed, especially using 3S. And I think ultimately it really worked out well. Now, it's not a direct swap. I will link the motor, but just know you're gonna have to do a little bit of work. It's not as bad as you think. You basically need to change over the connector. Easiest way would be to desolder the wires and connector from the stock motor, solder them onto the replacement motor because it does come with a different connector. The other issue that is a little more of a challenge is the pinion. The stock pinion is a 12 tooth and it is a plastic pinion gear. It comes off fairly easily. If you just use a needle nose plier underneath, don't grab the gear itself, but put it under the gear and just pry it a little bit, it will come up off. You could even use a flathead screwdriver, pry it off. Be careful, it will shoot off and go flying. You'll probably never see it again. But the new motor, the OGRC, with the pressed on brass pinion, pain in the ass. I had to heat it up pretty good with a little micro torch to get that thing off, and then I used needle nose pliers under it, kind of wedged it between the pinion and the motor, and just kind of pried it off. So I was able to make it work, but it's not a direct bolt-in swap. You can't run an 11 tooth without slotting one of the motor screw holes in the trans case, which I may consider doing. I think dropping this down a tooth would actually be really nice. So I may mess around with that. If I do, I'll make a video. But anyway, stay to the end. This is not a very long video. Stay to the end if you want to see me attempt this crazy climb that I have in the thumbnail. It's one of the toughest climbs that I know of, even with a 10th scale. The only truck I've ever tackled that with from bottom to top is my G-Speed crawler, which I don't have anymore, but it was the only one to really ever do it. And this truck, I'll tell you why. You know, while I'm showing you the footage, I will tell you what the deal is with it. But this thing really impressed me. The other changes I made, so I have my front shocks mounted in the rearmost position on the towers. And just so, let me just point out this before I get into the rest of my setup. I'm recording this on an iPhone, and I have it set up, and you could do this if you have an iPhone and you wanted to do this for whatever reason, but there's a feature where you can add a level line that goes across your screen when you're recording. So it will tell you if you're holding your phone perfectly level. And I really make it a point when I'm out with a crawler to hold my phone perfectly level, just to show you guys the true angle of things that I am tackling, especially with this Mini. It blows me away at times, and I don't even have a ton. I have front portal weights from Redcat. I have brass Endura wheels all around, Endura King Trekker tires. They're not even vented. And I just took the ESC receiver and I mounted it on its side on one slider, and then on the opposite slider I have a 450 milliamp 3S battery. So I have nothing on the rear tray, nothing on the front tray. They all, you know, those two things are just sitting on the sliders. I have one double stick tape. The ESC is double stick tape. The other one is Velcro. This is the climb, guys, here. So this truck, absolutely, if I had the time and I sat here and messed with it for another 10, 15 minutes, I could have one-shotted this whole climb. How it is, you'll see me, I'm just learning the lines, learning the truck. There's definitely a couple spots where you need some momentum and wheel speed to get up through it. And I kind of started to learn those lines, and I would have been able if I just sat here for another 10, 15 minutes. But as you can see, I took a reposition. I fell off twice, and I repositioned a little higher up just so I wouldn't have to spend another, couple minutes getting back up to the point where I fell off. But this is an extremely steep, really challenging line. You can see if you get too far to the right, you get into this undercut. If you go too far left, you fall off a ledge. And there's a lot of kind of craggy, just lumps and bumps and things that are off camber. And it really, really tests the abilities of any RC. On the 10 scale, it's super tough because of it ends up being narrow, but it ended up being such an awesome climb with this little truck. I really love it. I'm going to come back here. I will absolutely one-shot this thing. I think this truck has it in its current form to do it. I just think maybe even as something as simple as I still have yet to put little rubber bands around the front shocks. I think that alone, just to keep, you can see the front loading there a little bit, just some little rubber bands around the front shocks just to keep it kind of, more pulled down, I think would be enough to do this. Or just a tiny bit more weight in the front. I don't want to add that much more weight to this truck, but maybe like a brass steering link or brass steering knuckles, just something basic. I don't want to go adding too much weight to this, but you can see like a couple repositions, I was able to clear the whole thing. It's just about learning the lines. And what's really cool with this truck, it works so well and it's so precise. It's so much like a 10 scale experience. And look, you can see, it just looks awesome too. It's such a cool section. Here's another little attempt of, bottom to top. But well, yeah, what I love about this truck is this is like the same experience as driving like a really high-end 10 scale rig, and I don't have that much money into this thing. It's still what I would consider relatively stock. So the motor, I will say I definitely like it. Now, there's probably better. I would consider even going a slightly higher turn. If you can get up into like a 70, maybe even an 80, you would get a little bit better torque. I kind of feel like maybe dropping the pinion tooth down. It's something I may experiment with to see if I can make it work. And if I do, I'll make a video. But just wanted to share this with you guys and share my progress with this tiny truck, and I'm having a blast with this thing. It's super fun. We took our Rifts into the woods today, and we just had these in our backpack, and it was cool. We got up to this point, took out the tiny trucks, and just played around for a while, and just had a blast with them. So I really love this thing. Super fun. And yeah, stay tuned, guys. Catch you in the next video. Later.